Yes, welcome to the No Stay Project. Hopefully we are coming out okay, because it has been an absolute train wreck of tech issues, and not all of them are on my end. I swear it's there's a thing going on with YouTube. I mean, it wouldn't recognize my camera. I mean, one thing after another. So if we're able to do the show, great. Don't see hopefully I have audio and everything. I mean, every single aspect of getting ready today. Thank goodness I started over an hour early. Every single aspect of this show today has been just a friggin' nightmare. I mean, it has been god awful. Everything going wrong. I don't know what the hell's going on with YouTube, but I know they're in some beta phase thing here, and it sucks. It is absolutely horrible. I know everyone's saying, go to BitChute, do this, go where I have no audience at all. And that they're even buggier. The BitChute I heard is even worse for tech issues than the YouTube there. So, hey, I'm glad that we do have some audio, because it was really sketchy. I tried doing the OBS, and I have the thing at the bottom there, but I don't know. It just didn't want to work. It just told me to go to hell. So, but it is episode 101. Episode 101 of the big show. I hope that wasn't too loud. Here from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. Glad to be with you here. A lot of stuff I think to get to. Expecting a lot of callers. Hopefully. It wouldn't be a Steven stream without the tech issues. Well, we're up and running right now, so we'll see. We'll see how much of a train wreck the video and audio will be. Hopefully that what I experienced just getting the show going is going to be all that we're going to have to take care of. But I did figure out what the hell was going on with my mixer. Whoa! I turned everything. I mean, I muted everything, and still this incredibly harsh static. It just wouldn't stop. I'm like, everything is muted, for goodness sakes. So it can't be the microphone. It can't be my cables. Everything's muted. It was the damn drivers. Thank you, Microsoft. So at least I got that. So if you've got a USB mixer and you've got horrible static, make sure your drivers are up to date, because it is ungodly loud. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for the continued support of the show. If you would like to help support the show, it is definitely needed to be able to keep doing the show. It's at markstevens.cells.com. You can just go to markstevens.net. It's also in the description. So go to markstevens.net. Also, if you are being attacked by a bureaucrat and you want to learn how to effectively defend yourself, where it's been proven time and time again. And I don't have the documents yet. I do have 3 more success stories I need to post, but I'm waiting on the documents. Plus, we had a caller on the show, on the Saturday show, where I don't remember which caller it was. Maybe it was Tom, but he's had some success. 4 out of 6 tickets have been thrown out, and he has to send me the documents, and I'll get that posted. But a couple of points of criticism that I want to address. I thought I was very clear last week why I was discussing the Epstein and the Lolita Express with such notable vermin as Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. And, of course, Alexander Acosta, who was the Labor Secretary, he's a cabinet position, was the U.S. attorney who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal. So whereas 30-some-odd children who were testified, who had, reported being sex trafficked and molested by Epstein and other politicians, Trump was named in a lawsuit, and based on for what the plaintiff said about threats on her life, she wound up withdrawing that. And so dozens and dozens of children that were complaining about this, and so you have children who don't know each other given the same story. That lends a lot of credibility to the allegations. And Alexander Acosta was the one, the U.S. attorney, who gave them this deal where none of the co-conspirators could be indicted. That none of the co-conspirators all have, which we don't publicly know yet. I'm thinking Clinton, Trump, other notable politicians. He was the one that gave them that sweetheart deal where they have immunity. The co-conspirators were given immunity. Yeah, you've got enough evidence to show that they're co-conspirators, but you don't have enough evidence to prosecute. Please. So I thought I was very, very clear about why I was discussing this particular case as an anarchist. And I want to repeat it here because obviously a number of people just missed this. The reason why I'm an anarchist is because I don't want a ruling class. Anarchy means no rulers. I thought that was, I talk about, that it's wrong to lie, steal, kill, and cheat other people just because you call yourself a government. And I was discussing the Epstein case and the sweetheart deal and how these people it's just like Iran-Contra. These people just keep turning up over and over and over and over again. Bob Barr. They just, the same people. They were pardoned by that vermin George H.W. Bush. And the reason why I'm talking about again is because we should have a ruling class. Because when you have a violent ruling class, they get away with things like this. They traffic in children. Children. And they get away with it. They, not only do they traffic in children and get away with it, but they kill people and get away with it. Look at this lunatic who in Saudi Arabia. Well, there's so much we could talk about Saudi Arabia. I mean, talk about not having a ruling class. I was called a hypocrite just for talking about politics as an anarchist. Which doesn't make any sense to me. Why, as an anarchist, can I not talk about... I mean, that's just like Republicans getting pissed off at comedians because comedians talk about things in politics. So I remember Gary Shandling putting some right-wing nut job in his place. Well, aren't you a comedian? He says, yeah, but in my off time, when I'm not working, things have a tendency to piss me off. Like the idea that if you're a comedian or you're a musician, you shouldn't be allowed to talk about politics. Well, you just play guitar and sing, and we don't care about your politics. So who gets to talk about politics, especially when you're talking about political abuse? If you're a musician, if you're an artist, you don't get to talk about that? If you're look, you're an auto mechanic. Stick to auto mechanics. I don't want to hear you. I don't give a damn what you got to say about politics. Ay. So the idea that I'm a hypocrite because I am talking about politics in the context of why we shouldn't have a ruling class, that's just a criticism I just don't get. I don't understand that. I guess it's, you can chalk it up that this is YouTube and you're going to get the stupidest, most toxic, this side of Facebook comments. I mean, my gosh. Well, let me tell you a stupid YouTube comment I read today. So I was working out and I was listening to, my iPod is dead. After all these years, it finally died. And so I just access YouTube and I'm listening to Slayer. The name of the song, Jihad. I've actually played it on the show before. If you're not familiar with Slayer's Jihad, after this broadcast, go check it out. It is to think that they could actually be that good 20 years or 18 years after Angel of Death and Rain and Blood. But somebody had even though the name of the song is Jihad, somebody goes and posts a comment that's the beauty of the song. It could be about, it doesn't mention any particular religion. The name of the song is Jihad. He's quoting Muhammad Atta at the end. It's obviously about, radical Islamic extremists. The type of people like the crown prince in Saudi Arabia who ordered the butchering of a journalist because he was critical of him. Oh, gee, why shouldn't we have a ruling class? Because you have the systematic killing of journalists. You have the systematic killing of homosexuals. Yeah. So what? Because I'm an anarchist, I'm not supposed to talk about stuff like that? I'm not supposed to talk about things that are happening right now? Where you're watching somebody get away with murder? You're watching somebody get away with felony at the felony at the felony at the felony? Just like Nixon. Nothing. What happened to Reagan? Nothing. What happened to Bush? Oh, he got promoted. What happened to someone like Colonel Oliver North? Did he do any prison time? He's wealthy. He is wealthy. So that's the context one else, and I don't think that that's out of line at all. The idea that that whether you're an artist, you can't talk about politics, have a fungal. What a stupid thing. Address the argument. Don't go and make, but again, this is something that's limited really to alt-right Republican types, where, hey, you're an artist. I don't want to hear your politics. You don't want to hear what I have to say, turn it off. That's, so that's the context. We shouldn't have a violent ruling class because they get away. Not only do they get away with such abuse, but it gives them a platform to commit abuse at a level that a Ted Bundy could never accomplish. These private serial killers, these private killers and criminals cannot get away with the level of abuse and trauma that they cause. That bureaucrats will not cause. They can't do that privately. The man said he could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose any votes or support. And he's right. Because just like Nixon, it doesn't matter how many felonies you pile up. It doesn't matter. One, his base don't give a damn. It's all fake news anyway. It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. He's right. To his base, he can literally do anything. He can rape children on national television. He wouldn't lose a vote. Hell, he supported Roy Moore. The ruling class has the means and the opportunity to commit horrible acts of aggression. And because they're called government, people believe the theology, if you will, that they have a moral right to do what is immoral. Here you've got a guy in Saudi Arabia ordering the butchering, the live dismemberment of a journalist. We're going to still send him weapons of mass destruction. He got a lot of money. He said it on national television. They're an ally. The man ordered the butchering of a journalist. They also blew up a bus full of children. Oh, I know. I know. They weren't white European children. They were brown children. They don't count. I think they do. So anarchy. Believe that it is wrong to lie, steal, kill, and cheat people, even if you call yourself a government. That the principle of right and wrong, and yeah, it's subjective. When you hurt somebody, at least it's objective to them. Do no harm should apply to everyone. And it makes my skin crawl. These people, and it came up briefly in Acosta's confirmation. And they just swept it under the rug. And so people have been talking about this for years. Years regarding what Acosta did. What do? It's all for show. And this so-called blue wave, do you really think that they're going to investigate seriously and indict one of their own? If they ever investigated the whole of Congress just on the issue of conflicts of interest and how much money they're making, how donors bribe them, and then they go and they pass laws that help them make even more money at our expense usually. So am I a hypocrite for talking about the abuse of the ruling class and why we shouldn't have a ruling class as an anarchist? I'm gonna have to go ahead and disagree with you there, okay? I think as an anarchist, that's what we're supposed to be doing, is pointing that stuff out. This is why we shouldn't have a ruling class. You have billionaires, buddy, they're called oligarchs, although some think it's limited just to Russia. But you have oligarchs like Jeffrey Epstein who are trafficking in children. And they get away with it. But Mark, he's a registered sex offender now, and he went to jail. He should have went to prison for 20 plus years. And he went to jail at night. He was on work release. Yeah. So, am I a hypocrite? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna disagree with you over there. Now we got a little bit, I shouldn't say, it's a little bit more meritorious, a little bit more merit than this criticism that I'm a hypocrite. I've been called a lot worse. Do your worst, people. So somebody went to the, and I get the thing on the phone, the notification on email. Somebody went to a 2-year-old video about Ginger, who was in Texas, formerly in Texas. I think he's in California now. And Soulless Productions, I think it's, he's been on the show before. He's reported about this stuff on the show. And so I took the documents, and they were unredacted, if I remember correctly, with Ginger. And so this was when the video was about, and it had the document regarding his dismissal. He's had a few, and not all of them were traffic. I don't think this one particular one was traffic. And I was very clear in the video. So somebody said, hey, I went and checked out the docket, and it was dismissed for lack of evidence, not for lack of evidence proving jurisdiction. Now, I say in the video and in the article that goes with it, there are other explanations, plausible, okay? I don't shut the door most of the times unless the evidence is absolutely overwhelming and points in only one, direction. I believe that I'm a skeptic, and the evidence speaks for itself. But there are times, many times, where you have other plausible explanations. So you can't just slam the door shut. The evidence may tend to favor one conclusion over another. So here, my position was that based on what Ginger reported and his actual defense, which was his lack of evidence proving personal and subject matter jurisdiction, that given how hard he defended himself, that you can't possibly logically say that the dismissal for a lack of evidence was completely irrelevant to his, it had nothing to do with his actual defense. That to me doesn't hold any water. Is it possible? I think it's possible. Yeah, a lot of things are possible. It's possible Trump really is a good, but it is, a lot of things are possible. I don't think that that's the most likely explanation. for this. I think, so again, if you're being honest, well, yeah, there are a few explanations for this, but the evidence points more strongly towards this one. He went in several times. He was like a jackhammer. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? So remember, for those who are new, the issue of subject matter jurisdiction is not the same as personal jurisdiction. There is a material difference. They're both based on the same thing. But personal jurisdiction is whether the Constitution applies to you in giving the court jurisdiction. That's over you. Subject matter jurisdiction is whether they have jurisdiction over that type of case. Okay, do they have subject matter jurisdiction of these types of cases? Now, my position has always been, and this is why we filed a demur in California, because the question is, do they have sufficient facts to set forth an actual case? Is there sufficient facts pled that set forth a public offense? Right? I've said this like 8,000 times. I've got several hundred videos, and I've got like 20 gigs or more of audio where it's the same thing. This is not new. Now, if they don't have sufficient facts to set forth subject matter jurisdiction, whether, okay, again, if they don't have, if there's a lack of evidence to set forth an actual public offense, then obviously it would, because that was his damn defense. If the prosecution withdrew because if there was a lack of evidence, then obviously it seems to reason, the logical conclusion there is they didn't have sufficient facts to make forth to set an actual public offense. Now, you may differ from what but logic dictates they're accusing you of the laws applying to you and that you violated them. Now, to be able to set forth a public offense, they have to have facts that prove that the laws actually apply, not a damn assumption. Facts. Assumptions, tradition, appeals to authority, those are not facts. Appeals to authority do not create a rebuttable presumption. No. No, 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 no. So, no. So here, the criticism, he's basically agreeing with me without just wanting to take a shot. If they threw it out, the prosecutor withdrew because they didn't have enough facts to show that they had a case. Okay, that's what we said. That was Ginger's entire defense. Because so for those who are having a problem with this, one more time, and I'll get to the calls. They're making their main accusation is, you violated, the laws apply, and you violated them. Logic dictates you got to be able to show with facts, part one, that the laws apply. Well, they apply to everybody. Where's your facts? What facts did the police officer to rely on to support that claim? We don't have to prove that. That's not fair. That's a wholesale denial of a fair trial because you cannot defend against the single most important part of their case. Well, at least with these code violations. So, yeah, if they didn't have enough facts, if they had a lack of evidence to show that they had a case against, or that Ginger committed a public offense, if they had a lack of evidence to show he committed a public offense, then there's a lack of evidence proving subject matter jurisdiction. Now, I want to be the skeptic. I'm going to be the logical one with good faith here. We can hold. I don't think so, but we can still hold. They don't think that they had sufficient evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's not what they said. You have to assume that, and you have to completely ignore Ginger's defense, which was essentially the same thing. All right, we're going to put the headset on here. We're going to get to the calls. Hopefully, Eric in California is going to be able to call us back. Well, we got a new caller, which is cool. Oh, we got area code 864. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Steven. I'm calling from South Carolina. right around Hilton Head. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm here. What can we do for you today in North Carolina?
No, South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, I wanted to ask you. I'm originally from. I don't want to swear on the phone your thing there, so I'm going to call it Massachusetts instead of what I normally call it. So,
okay.
Anyways, I have a problem with them suspending my driver license when I've had a driver license down here for 28 years. I want to know how, if I'm not up there committing an actual offense, how are they getting the right to suspend my driver license?
Do you have any context? I mean, are they saying that there was an unpaid ticket from years ago?
Nope. No. No, I haven't had I haven't been up there. Well, I've been up there in 2006, but I didn't get no traffic tickets. So my question is because they told me my license was supposed to be what do you call it? It was supposed to be expired and canceled because I've had a legal driver license in South Carolina since May 30th, 1991.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wonder.
There's no context at all. So how did you find out that it was suspended?
Because when they suspend my license up there, because they're on the driver license compact,
right.
It suspends my regular driver license down here.
Okay. I would imagine.
So then I had to pay 2 reinstatement fees, one up there and one down here. So why are they making me pay a reinstatement fee up there to reinstate a license that I don't have up there when I only have a license down here? Because it's supposed to be. I looked up the driver license compact, and there's 2 other ones that I don't have the name with me right now. But there's 2 other compacts that Massachusetts is involved with, and both of them say 1 driver, 1 license. That's what I thought it was supposed to be, anyways.
When you left Massachusetts, was the driver's license was it in good standing?
Yes, it was. And that's what I used to get my driver license in South Carolina. I turned in my Massachusetts driver license on May 30th, 1991. I know that because I called up the South Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles and asked them when I did that, and they gave me that date. So I handed over my Massachusetts driver license and got a South Carolina driver license on May 30th, 1991. So how can they suspend my driver license for a non what do you call it?
There's no offense.
Like a moving violation or something like that. If my license is canceled and expired.
Well, there's a difference between canceled and expired. Now, if it just expires, then there shouldn't have been an issue. If it was canceled, then that might be the sticking point. Why do you say canceled?
Well, I mean, I use that term myself, but canceled is when I brought the Massachusetts license down here and I gave it to the South Carolina DMV, and they're supposed to cancel it and send it back to Massachusetts. I don't remember, but a friend of mine told me that they're supposed to use one of those hole punchers, and they punch a hole in your driver license, which is their thing for canceling the driver license, and they send it back, and so then my Massachusetts driver license is canceled, and then I automatically have a South Carolina driver license. So I guess that's what they do.
Okay, because I was asking, because that's different than if somebody goes down, someone like a right to travel type, which is just something I did. When you go down to them and you surrender the driver's license, or you ask them to cancel it, it will come up as suspended so that they can arrest you if they catch you driving. I guess the thing to do to start here would be to contact the DMV in Massachusetts and find out what the reason was, if any. I'm
going to be sending some Freedom of Information Acts up there the beginning of this month. to find out what authority they had to either because when they do that, I have to pay 2 reinstatement fees. They want me to reinstate a license that's supposed to be canceled and expired. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that you got to find out what is in their computer that triggered this. That do they think that there was an offense? And obviously, so you got to have more context so that you can start to deal with this. I wouldn't at this point be talking about authority. I want the context to find out what is going on that led them to do that, because the easy thing is if they can't show that there's any kind of violation, then you should be able to go to the South Carolina DMV and say, look, this is a computer error. I've had a South Carolina license since 1991. I haven't, there's no issue up in Massachusetts for them to be doing this, and hopefully they can take care of that without a reinstatement.
I tried that. That didn't work.
You tried that?
Didn't work.
What did you try?
Yep.
But you don't have the.
I tried. Pardon?
But you don't have the information from the DMV in Massachusetts yet to then take over to South Carolina.
Yeah, I did. Well, all they said was it was suspended, and what they told me at the time was it was suspended for not paying, what do they call it, a reinstatement fee. And I said, why do I got to pay a reinstatement fee on a driver license that I don't have in Massachusetts?
So, do you have the date and time or the documentation? Do you have something to prove that that's what they told you?
No, I don't have any documentation to prove that. No.
Well, I guess if they're saying that a reinstatement fee is due when you haven't even lived there since 1991 at least, then
1991, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So you may have to ask for an administrative hearing with the DMV.
With Massachusetts, you mean?
Yeah, to clear that up so that they can send notice.
So I have to go up there. I have to go up there for an administrative hearing. They don't do over the phone administrative hearings.
I did. I've done video hearings in New Hampshire, but they don't. You have to go up there. Or maybe it's something that you can do in writing. Then maybe you could just do it by declaration.
I'm not familiar with that.
Well, see if you could just put it in writing that this is your argument that they're asking for a reinstatement of a license where I'm not even. I have to say, but I'm not. I don't live here. I'm not a so-called resident. I'm not required to have a driver's a Massachusetts driver.
Now, would it matter if it involved child support? Would they be able to? Because I looked up your child support suspension rules, and it doesn't give them the right to suspend an out-of-state driver license on that either.
But you don't know if but you don't, because you're already saying that it could be they do things like that, but you're saying that they've already told you it's because you didn't pay a reinstatement fee. It's not child support related, so. That's what they told me. But I don't know how I had to pay the reinstatement fee when my driver license was already, like I told you, when I turned in my driver license in 1991, it was already, what do you call it there? Right. I don't want to, I'm running low on time and I got some other callers, so I don't want to, we don't need to go over that again. What sucks here is see I would send a written complaint to them and asking for, a reconsideration on this. And that if they can't reconsider it this way, then I guess you'd have, you would suck to have to drive 800 miles to Massachusetts to get that squared away, especially since you're risking on getting arrested and thrown in jail if you drive up there.
Well, I've already, since I had to pay them the reinstatement fee, and then I had to pay South Carolina the reinstatement fee to get, so I'm legally licensed to drive again. But the question is how are they able to do that? So I can go up there. So like I say,
it's already
ready to spend some.
Okay, so this is already a solved problem. So I mean, you just want to find. Okay, that's a different that's a different scenario. So that okay. I wish we spent a lot of time on this. All right. I would, Okay,
so there's some other questions that I wanted to ask you about. When you say that you're, we don't have to go over this so much, but I just want to know, when you say, how does your laws, statutes, and codes apply to me just because I'm in, why do you call it South Carolina and not the state of South Carolina? Or why do you even call it any name? Because the name is actually arbitrary because, like 200 years ago, what would you say if you was in front of the law enforcement people then, because it didn't have no name back then?
Well, at what point didn't it have a name? I mean, I'm sure 300 years ago it had a name. I mean, since 1630 or whatever it was, it had a name. I use the name that we call the land, and because to me that I'm using lay terms. I'm just talking. This is just what we call this area. I don't use state because state is a political word. State is not just a geographic area.
Okay, I got you. Yep.
State is, when you use the word state, you are never just talking about a geographical area. So it's like Arizona. Arizona has existed for, I don't know, 12 billion years, whatever, how old the Earth is. I'm sure
but they didn't call it Arizona for 12 billion years, though.
But they've been calling it Arizona for, over 200, maybe 200 years. So let's say for 200 years, just estimating, they've called this area Arizona. Well, they used to call it Mexico at one point. But let's say for 200 years, they were calling it Arizona. But they have not been calling it the state of Arizona because the state of Arizona did not exist prior to 1910.
Right.
So that's why I always recommend, and I want to use lay terms so that we know what is being, what's being said. There's no hidden meaning. There's a big difference between saying, well, I live in Arizona, as opposed to saying, well, I'm a resident of the state of Arizona. There's a hell of a lot more to unpack in the second claim as opposed to the first one.
Right, yeah, okay.
As far as the other issue, give me a call on another show and we'll get right into that. But I'm running out of time and I want to get to some other callers.
Okay, what are you going to be on? What times are you having other shows?
Well, look on markstevens.net. This show, for information on when we do the broadcast, I'm not going to be doing a live show on Saturday. I'm going to hope to do some recording on Friday at this time, but we'll see how my schedule, what my schedule
Friday,
allows.
like this Friday?
Yeah, usually we're on Saturday from 4 to 7 Eastern time. But I'll try to do, let's say, 3 to 5 Mountain Standard Time on Friday. But get me on Skype at Frank Rizzo 3, and I'll let everybody know if I'm able to do it. Okay?
I don't have Skype.
Email me at markstevens@mail.com.
Okay, all right.
All right.
So do you post the times on your, I got your website going, your live broadcast?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right, I'll look on there.
All right.
This is my first time on your show.
Oh, wow.
So, but a friend of mine recommended you, and I've been listening to you for up until, last Sunday up until today. And you're very, very interesting, and I agree wholeheartedly what you're saying on your thing there about how does the laws apply to me, because nobody even has ever, the original founding fathers that signed the Constitution, nobody has even signed it since then.
They didn't sign it as signatories. They signed it as witnesses. So they didn't sign in any way to make themselves.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do yourself a favor. Well, I got to let you go, but do yourself a favor. Look up Lysander Spooner. And I actually have an audio book of No Treason that you can get on YouTube. But Lysander Spooner, and you can get a copy of that also at markstevens.net. I appreciate the call. Well, I do have to move on. So, anyway. But Eric in California was able to make it back. He's clearing his throat over there. Welcome back to the big show there, Eric.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I wanted to ask you about a speeding ticket I got not too long ago. This is in California, and I got cited for speeding. And the officer came around to my wife's side passenger window, and she rolled it down just a few inches, just enough to pass paperwork back and forth. And he, was giving her an attitude, wanting her identification, stuff like that. and he started talking about the windows being tinted and said that he could stand here all day and cite us for stuff if she doesn't cooperate. And he's just trying to get her to roll down the window, and that's a big problem with that. And he wound up citing me for the speeding and for the tinted windows that we have on the front windows. And so I'm wondering how I can deal with that. They're trying to find me a lot of money for both the speeding and the tinted windows. Even if I fix the windows and show them evidence that I've taken care of it. So I'm wondering, how can I deal with that? Is there anything that I can do?
Oh, sure. You can definitely defend against that. I mean, the guy, there's so many problems that are going on in California, and this guy is worried about window tinting. You've got a place like Paradise that has been leveled, that the fire was there, was devastating. They are not recovering from that for years. Lives destroyed, like 100 people died. I mean, there's so many problems, and this guy is worried about the tinting on the windows. I mean, what does he think that you guys are gangbangers?
Right.
Yeah, you can do something, and I would. And you probably know. You have it. I talked about it today. I would file the demur, and the request for judicial notice or motion for judicial notice, and I would file for discovery, and I would challenge this, because this guy, he will agree to this. He saw you physically in California, determined that the laws applied, and was under the impression you were somehow violating them. He doesn't have any evidence to support that first part. He just assumed it. And I defy anybody to call and present evidence to the contrary that the cop was not making an assumption on that. It's absolutely exactly what is happening. And that is exactly why they don't allow you to ask him questions regarding the facts that his decision was based on, because it was an assumption. And an assumption does not cut it for probable cause. Their laws are at least that specific. So that's what I would do. I would challenge the base or the foundational claim. I see these two guys they're here in California. I got jurisdiction to stop them, and I would attack that claim, and I would do that through their demur, their tool, of course, when in Rome, and I would challenge that.
Okay.
I mean, you're familiar with that. You've called the show before.
Yeah. Now, would that get rid of the whole ticket or just the tinted window part?
It could get rid of both charges are based on the same claim, right? The same general claim.
Yeah.
You're physically in California, the laws apply, and you violate it. Both are code violations. They're not accusing you of hurting anyone, right?
Right.
Yeah, this is a malo prohibita. This is something that's wrong because the politicians said so that they can get money, so they can extract money from you.
Right.
So, and I would, I challenge it on those grounds, and it could get rid. Yeah, I'm not saying that there's no guarantee. We have had the demur granted before. Yeah, we've had prosecutors most of the time withdraw charges. A good percentage of the time, we prep and we go through our initial appearance, we do our arraignment, and then we get to trial, and the cop ain't there. A lot of times the cop is still there for other cases. He's just not there for us. So, be skeptical as to why that is, of course, but we know. He just didn't want to prosecute you or, whoever we were working with. So we've had more than a few people report that on the show. The cop was there. He just wasn't there for my case.
Right, okay.
And so this may come down to a cross-examination. It may come down to you having to appeal. But the cross-examination doesn't have to be more than 2 questions because, in fact, I would prefer it that way, Eric. I would prefer to, say I waste as much time as possible. But if you're going to do that, at least get the groundwork done. Get your constitutional error of the first magnitude out of the way, and then waste the cop's time. Waste everyone's time if you can do that, and keep that cop off the street. Sure, But ask those two questions first. And just for you and new listeners, these are the questions. This is how easy it is to have them deny you a fair trial. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is denial of a fair trial. Did you determine on your own that just because you saw me and my wife physically in California that the laws applied and that we may be violating them? Yeah. And that gave you jurisdiction? Yeah, okay. What facts did you rely on at the time to support that claim? And that's when they start screaming objection, calls for a legal conclusion. Once the judge sustains the objection, your work is done. Now it's just a matter of trying to, waste their time. Because if they're not going to throw it out for a denial of cross-examination, there's not a single thing you can do from that point that's going to change that judge's mind. So you might as well keep the cop off the street as long as possible. I think I made it through an entire show here without a tech issue. But yeah, and if anyone is still up in the air and don't know, if you want to get the demur or motion to dismiss or other templates and scripts that we use for role-playing, which we'll do at this time tomorrow, contact me at Skype at FrankRizzo3. Then you can just go to markstevens.net and get it there. Someone saying, I'm just reading this cold. When will Mark start making comments based on the fact Mark Kishin Christopher is laying out there to properly file and organize your own personal items and any fraudulent claims made against you? I don't even know who Mark Kishin is. It's the first I've even heard of the guy. When will Mark start making comments? I have no idea. I can't comment on something I know nothing about. He's laying out there to properly file and organize your own personal items and any fraudulent... I don't know. Is this sovereign stuff? Is this Freeman on the land stuff? If that's what it is, then I might take time to debunk it, but I'd have to know what the hell it actually is. So I don't know. I hope it's not one of those Freeman... Why when I mention on the show, and I say sovereign citizen, I'm not... That's like I took the time here and I say sovereign. But I use the phrase sovereign citizen because that's what we're referred to as. I'm not. I'm an anarchist. But some people actually identify as sovereigns. And as someone always has to put in the comments, it's a contradiction. No kidding. We don't need to point that out because I'm saying it. I'm just quoting them. I know it's a contradiction in terms. It's just like the contradiction. There's so many contradictions with these people. Jurisdiction's a pure issue of law, requires no evidence to establish or prove. All the prosecution has to do is show that you're physically in New Hampshire. That's a contradiction. I remember there was this guy who was posting on the comments every single day on my articles at markstevens.net. I mean, this guy was just obsessed. And that I was scamming people. And there was no way that this guy could see the contradiction. I was a scammer because of this. I know jurisdiction's a pure issue of law, but I keep lying to people so that I can get the big money. Jeez. Yeah. He couldn't fathom. And I think the guy was legitimately upset. I think it was causing him a lot of stress because he was totally convinced that I was scamming people. And he was so emotionally invested in this that he couldn't get past this contradiction. His claim to fame that I was a scammer was because I was lying that because I knew in my heart, I know that jurisdiction's a pure issue of law, requiring no evidence. I know it in my heart, and I'm lying to everybody. And he didn't see the contradiction. He says, all they have to do is prove that you're physically here. That's not a pure issue of law. Oh, and he couldn't. He just, I couldn't accept that this guy was just a troll. Maybe, he came over from with that group of lawyers that likes to, trash people. And what do you do? What do you do with someone like that? When you absolutely cannot see and understand or accept that you are contradicting yourself. At least he took some medication maybe and stayed away from the website. He never wanted the opportunity to confront me directly. It's easier to just, you're a scammer, you're a scammer, you're a scammer. But I do welcome dissent on the show. I didn't mention that today, but I do. And we're out of time, so we're winding down here. But dissent is welcome. I'm going to do what I can to do a show on Friday. So if you're subbed, you're going to know about it. And I'll put out some notifications on Facebook if I'm able to do that. So if I missed you today, we'll do it from 3 to 5 on Friday right here at my YouTube channel. Mountain Standard Time. 3 to 5 Mountain Standard Time. So an hour earlier, ending at the same time. And we'll be doing the role-playing. I've been very consistent. Nobody can say I have not been there for the last few months. Very consistent with the role-playing. We do it at the same time as this broadcast on Discord. So you contact me at FrankRizzo3 on Skype there, and we can get you on that. You don't have to participate, but you could just listen, and that is instructive too. But eventually you do need to start. If you want to get better at it, you want to get better at calling someone on their BS, if you want to get better at arguing, and I mean arguing in the philosophical sense, not contention, not being a douche, arguing where you want both people or whoever's engaged in it walk away with a better understanding at least of the other guy's argument. You don't have necessarily. So that's what we do. We go through the Socratic method. We talk about logic, reason, and how to punch holes in an argument. How to effectively defend yourself in court. Because what it comes down to is when they haul you in for these code violations, like I said already, it always bears repeating. I do appreciate the new listeners and people watching. Look, the laws apply. You violated it. Those two. Never take your eye off of this. Because without the first one, without being able to actually prove that the laws apply, not that the laws exist, we know they do, but that they actually apply and create obligations. And as a skeptic, as a reasonable person, we don't accept for a second that the laws apply just because someone said so. Even if that someone is an authority as like the Supreme Court. So, anyway, this has been episode 101 of the big show here on Wednesdays, commercial free. If we do the show on Friday, that will also be commercial free. So if I missed you, tune in from 3 to 5 Mountain Standard Time then. So till then, salud.